Hi, today's 2-minute bass lesson, I'm responding to an email request to talk about trills and bends. Trills and bends are cool little ornaments you can add onto your bass lines and your solos to add maybe some new energy to them. Let's start with the trills. Trills are simply where you fret a note and then you hammer on and pull off real rapidly. Most commonly a trill is a half step, but I've seen whole step trills and at times minor third trills. And of course you can probably find other examples. Practicing trills is also a great way to warm up. And contrary to maybe what you think, if you really want to get good at trills, you don't practice them very rapidly at first. You practice them very slowly. You press, pull off, press, pull off. By doing that, you're actually activating the muscle. You're holding down longer, which is going to strengthen the muscle and warm up the hand better than just dabbing at it like that. So by doing really slow with your index and middle, just hammer on, pull off, hammer on, and do it with your ring finger as a whole step. And then for giggles, do it with your pinky. Now do it for slowly at first, and then start building up your tempo until you get to a tempo you like. Now the biggest error that people make with trills is they don't do them in time. You know, if the tempo is a certain meter, and you just willy-nilly do trills, it's going to sound strange. Now you could do that for a chaotic effect, if that's what you're going for, is kind of an out-of-time chaotic effect. But if you're trying to do a funk line or something, make sure that your trills are actually in time with whatever the music is that you're playing. So yeah, and all you use to do it is you pick a tone that you're in the groove. Like if we're in E, you might want to take your E and do a quick E to F trill. So it could be like a... something like that. So trills are great to practice, and I honestly will warm up with the trill even if I'm not going to use it that night in a gig or a recording. So practice your trills, make sure you're practicing with all your fingers. Now talking about bends, the most common error made when people start getting into bending, and bending is not as common on the bass as it is on guitar, obvious reasons, the strings are a lot heavier, but there's a great opportunity to create moods and colors by bending. And what I was going to say is the biggest error that people make is they'll start on a note that's in the key and bend out of the key and wonder why it doesn't sound well. Now I should put the caveat, sometimes you want that. Sometimes you want to add tension, make it sound a little dissonant, and then relax the string back to come to consonants. But for the most part, you want to, if you want to like hold the tone and have a resolved feeling, start below the note. Let's say that we're targeting this E. If I want to bend into it, obviously I'm going to start below, and it depends on how much of a degree of a bend. You might just want a half step bend or a whole step bend. Now again, it's getting harder and harder, so on the deeper bends, I'll use 2 or 3 fingers, technique allowing, and bend up to the pitch. You may want to practice this, and a good way to practice to make sure you're hearing it correctly is playing off the open G. Let's say I'll start on the F sharp, which is a half step below the G, on the 4th fret, and I'll play the G, open, and then I'll bend up to it. So that way I can tune my ear to how much I need to bend to get a half step bend. You hear that? And then we can actually do harmony bends, which is we can take other notes that would blend well with, like, we could bend into a D. So here's my D, and we're in an open G, so we have a G and a D together. Until you hear it really, relax and kind of feel like it's in tune. And so use chord tones and scale tones that sound good against the open G to practice your intonation on your bends. Now, one thing that people don't do a lot on bass, which I think is a really great sound, is let's target that E again on the 14th fret. We want that note. You start with the note bent and release into it, which is a whole different effect, and it gives you a whole different feel. So you're going to want to practice that. So this is just a quick primer if you guys aren't familiar with trills and bends. 2 ornaments that really can add color and dimension to your bass lines. Practice them in time. Make sure you can execute them cleanly, and don't hesitate to isolate and practice very slowly, especially on like the bending technique exercise I was giving you against the open G. Take your time. Don't try to just that's not going to do it. You got to hold it and listen for the consonants when the notes really blend well together. Okay. So that was a great question. So I thank you for the email. Feel free to email me more lesson requests, or if you want me to go over a topic again, that's absolutely okay. You can email me at dalet@danabygoods.com. Thanks for stopping by.